Hey viewers, and welcome back to Exhaust Notes Australia. My name's Dan, and next to me is a car that probably doesn't need too much of an introduction. It's the 2024 Subaru WRX, and they've given us the RS model with the 6-speed manual transmission. In our opinion, that's the gearbox you're probably going to want to have in a car like this. Now, interestingly, the RS manual sits in about the mid-range of all the specs for the WRXs. There are at least two above this with the automatic linear-tronic gearbox, and they do come with a few more goodies like adaptive suspension, rear air vents for the backseat passengers and things like that. But lacking an STI version of this model, this is the top of the line manual transmission WRX you're going to be able to get from about $58,500 drive away. Now, we're about 2 years into the VB generation, and I'm wondering now, have we come around on the black plastic cladding around the wheel arches? I think certainly on the darker colors, people don't seem to mind. A lot of people have actually gone and bought the darker colors purely for that reason. But on this car, which is coming in the WR Blue Pearl, the iconic WRX color, I still don't think that they're too bad. I do wonder how they're going to go in the Australian sun after a few years if an owner, for example, has not kept up the plastic finish. But at least at the moment, as this one's come, it's kind of worked for me. I'm not sure how it goes on, say, a silver or a white shade, which of course you can get, along with a red and an orange and a darker blue, grey and black. I've been a fan of the previous generation, and I do like how the new model has just matured the pointiness, a bit of that aggressiveness, those new sharper headlights. That front end is very much more refined as the WRX has grown over the decades. There's a large glass house which actually creates quite a roomy interior in there, and it's quite a comfortable place to be and to drive in. Of course, we do have the iconic bonnet scoop, which perhaps isn't as pronounced as in previous generations, but there's no denying what you're looking at is a WRX. In that black plastic cladding around the front wheels, at least, we have some air vents designed to dissipate the heat from the brakes whilst driving. I would have liked some nicer looking brakes behind there rather than the standard ones, but again, this is not an STI version or anything like that. We have some pretty okay looking 18-inch alloys there, but they're certainly nothing too standout or too special. Arguably, it's around the back where things maybe don't look as good. I'm a real fan of this taillight design. The shape of it is very BRZ inspired, and they've got that kind of lava glow thing happening. They look really good. Much of this area is actually quite nice, but then here we have some fake vents in the rear cladding, and this bumper just keeps on adding more and more, and it's all just black plastic, and I just think there's too much of it, and none of these vents are real, which maybe would have helped, or just to bring in some body color or something here. This is just a large amount of black plastic that just doesn't really do it for me anyway. Kind of saving that is that we do have the 4 individual exhaust pipe outlets, which is a WRX thing, but yeah, it's a bit too much for my liking anyway. There are some styling packs that you can get, and one of them, at least on the Subaru website, indicates that some of these can be highlighted in a red or a different color, but yeah, I don't know, maybe in the aftermarket people are doing something different there, but yeah, there's a lot of plastic there. Also, I would have been a fan of a bigger wing rather than the little boot lid spoiler that's there. Even going back to the early 2000s when there was a lower spoiler without going to the full STI spec, something like that even could look good. Though in saying that, I would probably put the STI wing on the back of this anyway, which you could get in the very limited club spec version, which is already sold out. Now, boot space in WRX is 411 litres, which isn't too bad for the size. It can open up to about 1,430 with the seats folded down. Now, being that it is a sedan, you have a bit of a high boot lip here, which can be a bit of an issue for loading and unloading heavy items, and just that aperture of being able to get things in and out is just not as practical as a hatch would be. The rear of the WRX is actually really roomy, surprisingly for a car in this segment. Sitting behind myself, I've got a decent amount of leg room, can get my feet underneath the seat pretty well, and you know, these seats are comfortable. We've got this leather and suede kind of look, which is really comfortable, kind of huggy enough. It's not too bolstered in the rear, but you don't really expect that all the time. Now, being that we've got the manual, we have heated outer seats in the back here and a USB-A and a USB-C point, but we miss out on rear air conditioning vents that the automatics get. But even with a sunroof, which it doesn't encroach into the headroom. I have space back here. I'm not touching the roof. It's just a nice place, really. Only the passenger seat comes with a rear pocket. I've just noticed there's none in this one. I don't know why. But yeah, otherwise, pretty nice. There is a fold-down armrest with twin cup holders. And aside from some air conditioning vents, which wouldn't be amiss back here, we do have the privacy glass, and otherwise, I don't think you'd be asking for too much more back here. Well, we have a Subaru WRX, so I think we need to take it for a drive. Now, the interesting thing about this particular car is that Subaru have given us a near brand new model. It had all of 9 kilometers on the dial when I picked it up. So that put me in a little bit of a tricky situation, because to properly drive a WRX, you actually want to be able to give it some, but we've got a run-in period to think of, and according to the handbook, that's up to 1,600 kilometers, and unfortunately I haven't been able to put that much on in the time that I've had it. So fortunately we've had a bit of wet weather, and the Subaru generates most of its power by 3,000 RPM anyway, and we're not supposed to push it past 4. So I've done what I can. Maybe sound off in the comments, what would you do in my situation? No doubt after this it's going to have quite a hard life as a review car, but I've tried to do my part. Anyway, we've loosened it up a little bit, so let's get on the road and have a bit of a drive. Now, one thing about the WRX is that it is obviously a performance-oriented car, and as a result of that, it doesn't have the softer suspension, we've noticed, which has taken a little bit to get used to. Another thing to get used to is quite a high clutch bite point. But, you know, like with any car, you've got to adjust to how it operates. Now, I have taken it for a blast through these roads already, and it definitely impressed with how it was able to handle it. So let's go and enjoy. Now we are going to catch up on some traffic, so we might as well just talk about the car. Look, it is wonderful and comfortable in here. These seats, especially in the front, are really supportive. Not too bolstered again, but enough to just keep you in place. We put some Ks on the car recently by doing a 6-hour round trip, and on those longer journeys, look, it wasn't too bad. I think as long as you take your mandatory breaks, you're going to find that the car is comfortable enough. 6 hours driving anywhere in the same car, you're going to start getting aches and feeling not quite the best by the end of it. But you know, this car handled it really well, especially for something that's so new. The displays are nice. I like that this is a 2024 car and we've got a bit of the old and a bit of the new. I like that we have actual needles and the gauges. It's not a fully digital display in front of us, and I'm okay with that. I'm actually used to that. My car itself has a similar thing, but everyone wants full digital displays these days, and I just don't really see the need. What is updated is this 11.3 inch portrait or vertical display, and most of your functions are run through there. Now, of course, you have wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, which is great, but I just find that accessing some of the other controls like your aircon, climate control and things is not the greatest, because you don't, you have to take your eyes off the road to know where the buttons are, and that is just, for me, is never a good thing. Like, you do have tactile buttons to just go up and down with your temperature and things here, that's fine, but for some of the other things that you're looking for, even if you put it to memory whereabouts those buttons are, I think you're always going to be double checking about that, and that's just less than ideal in my opinion. I mean, even for a stock car, the sound is pretty good coming out of that engine. Now, we haven't talked about the engine, so it's of course the 2.4 litre flat 4, putting out 202 kilowatts and 350 newton meters of torque to all four wheels, of course. It makes a good noise. And what I do like is that you don't have to rev the car too much to get every ounce of juice out of it. Brakes are good on the way down, and you just have that all-wheel drive confidence, of course. I might be under-gearing some of these turns just a little. No, we're good. Short shift sometimes, it just wants you to play. You're changing the gears. Probably could have gone in a third for that one. That's alright, as we're catching up on the traffic again. Riding his brakes down the hill. And this is where the manual comes in handy, because you can use the gears rather than your brakes. But I think that's the end of our run. So, look, I think most people are going to know the WRX is living up to its name as a driver's car, and you can have all the fun that you want going up and down these sorts of tight mountain roads when you don't have this sort of traffic in front of you. Visibility is great. There's a lot of glass around. The glass house is nice. The mirrors are big enough. And it's comfortable enough for at least 4 people, potentially 5. 3 rear tether points for the back seat and 2 ISOFIX points on the outsides. It's pretty much got all you'd want. What I did find, we're in dry conditions at the moment, so it's been alright, but I did find that the tyres may have a bit of a limit in the wet, or at least on greasy roads. I've been able to sort of get it into a bit of a slide on an off-camber roundabout, and it was just a little bit disconcerting, but in these conditions it's been fine. Some of the other oddities of the WRX, especially with this manual, we'll just go through this list here. The RS manual comes with the electric sunroof. We have LED puddle lamps, interior ambient lighting. We have an auto dimming rearview mirror, 8-way power adjustable front seats, heated front and rear outer seats I've talked about, and we have the sat nav and the CD player. A CD player in 2024, and for those old dinosaurs like me, it can even play a rewritable disc filled with MP3s. Now, if that ain't showing your age, I don't know what does. But this car has it. It's actually pretty cool. While we have the wireless Android Auto and Apple CarPlay, we don't have a wireless charging pad for your phone. And I found that the little tray area at the front here is just slightly too small for my Google Pixel 6 Pro. So if you've got a larger phone, it may just sit slightly out of the little recess there. I have a little recess for coins or something here, double cup holders. There is a cup holder and armrest in the back. Subaru claims a 9.9 litre combined consumption, and you know what? After our 6-hour run the other day, we're sitting on an average of 9.3, but do expect to see higher than that if you're giving it some and in more urban conditions. For safety, there's driver monitoring. We have these orange sort of lights in the mirrors that will come up for your blind spot monitor. But I'm going to say the rear parking camera is pretty terrible. It comes up in this view, which you can change. You've got a camera button on the side of the dash, but it's not nice at all. It's very distorted. It does have dynamic guides when you move the wheel, and there is a camera looking at the front passenger side wheel so that you can see if you're going to hit the gutter or something, which is kind of handy. But overall, I think the view is terrible, and we don't have front or rear parking sensors, so you're going to have to use your eyes to sort of judge, because it's not going to beep to tell you when you're too close to a car in front or behind. I do like the little display on the front. Like I said, we have analog gauges, but in the middle is a digital display, and when you hit the brake lights, it tells you on the graphic if your brakes are coming on. I've noticed the radar cruise control will do that too, so if it's had to slow down quite dramatically, it will activate the brake lights itself. That's a handy little thing to know. You've got other little displays up there, like your how much turbo has been used. You can have your GPS coming up turn by turn, your tire pressure, that sort of thing. I find the look of the display is fine, although it's a bit bright at night time. You're supposed to be able to dim it somehow, but we haven't found how to do that easily. It's pretty responsive, and you can customize. It's pretty responsive, he says. It doesn't answer me. It's kind of responsive. Let's go with that. Look, it's kind of responsive there. You can customize your display a little more with what you'd like. Of course, Android Auto will come up once it connects to the phone. It's going to let me down there, and all of your other little, there we go, all of your other little things will come up. So look, it's fine, it's good. The RS comes with a 10-speaker Harman Kardon audio system, and it's really good. It's just out of the box because the car is so new, but I found I haven't had to change any of the settings. The treble and the bass, very, very good over the lower spec models, which only have 6 speakers, which I can't imagine are going to sound anywhere near as good as this, in my opinion. All right, well, let's just go for one more spin up the hill. All right. The steering wheel's got good feel behind it. It may be a little bigger than I'd have expected, but it's fine. And we got a long-ish gear shift here, but you're pretty sure with what you're doing with it. Like, it's a very positive feel. Like I said, you just got to get used to that high clutch point and some of that shorter gearing in the lower gears, but once you're moving, it's fine. Plenty of buttons here for your volume and your tracks, your media, and cruise control on the right. As we come in, the more you get used to the car, just the more you find you're able to push and just do, and no, it's good. It's good to have the confidence. And I mean, this is just a 60 zone, and that's pretty much all we're doing, but having a lot of fun doing just that. Having too much fun. But that's the point, right? That's what we want. Oh, that's good. Yeah. Well done, guys. Well done. What a car. What a car. Subaru offer a standard 5-year unlimited kilometer warranty. They have 5-year 75,000 kilometer cap price servicing, and they offer 12-month roadside assistance, so they renews every time you service the car. Pretty standard these days, but yeah, that's going to be what, every 15,000 Ks you'll need to service the car, which for a turbo car is pretty good. So yeah, what do you think? What are your thoughts? Have we got used to how the VB WRX looks? Look, I don't mind it, actually. I've got to say, it's one of those things, right? Every new WRX, there's controversy about its appearance, and then we just kind of get used to it, and then the new one comes out and you're like, well, what the hell, what's what was wrong with the old one? And yeah, I was definitely a fan of the previous shape, but this one's definitely grown on me. So once you're out of the mountain pass and you've had your fun and you got to press on or go home, yeah, it's just gonna do that, and it can do the grocery run, it can do the mundane, and it can be sensible. Like, those fuel economy figures really surprised me. So I think that's about it for this one as we come to the end of this little jaunt. Do let me know your thoughts. Have you got one? What have your thoughts been? Did you like the look of the VB when it first came out, or did you have to take some convincing in order to put your hard-earned cash into buying it, or did you just know that you wanted it? Yeah, I think as the years have gone by, we've become accustomed to how it looks, and yeah, like, I think it's grown on us a bit. So, as usual, a big thank you to Subaru for letting us play with this car. It's been a lot of fun, especially something so brand new. A big thanks to you all for watching, as always. Really appreciate it. Do subscribe if you've liked the content, and sound off with your comments about what we're doing. Plenty more exciting stuff on the way, as always, on 2 and 4 wheels. Do read my article at the Exhaust Notes Australia website, and all the others that are there. Not all of them get videos. And a big thanks to Exhaust Notes Australia for letting me have a play with this car on their behalf. Do stay tuned for the next one, and I'll see you then, guys. Take care. Cheers.